Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really, really honored. I've had a few dealings with the guys, and I think I'm in this magazine.
Yes, yeah.
It's in this one. There we go. And yeah, I must say, it was quite interesting for me when I sent my subject or my topic to the organizers of this prestigious event, because I looked at it and I couldn't help but think that I had set myself up for failure. You see, a subject like what it's going to take really gives the impression that you've cracked the ever-elusive advertising code, and you're about to dispense, for once and for all, the answer to all of the world's advertising conundrums. Now that's a hang of a tall ask. So then I thought, what if I change my topic to rather read this? And I thought that would be a lot easier. But the problem with this angle is that it does feel like a bit of a cop-out. You see, I think it's easy to point out what's wrong without offering any formidable solutions. And I think as a society, we suffer from that. So then I thought, okay, so this is not going to work. And in the middle of my musings, it actually came to me. What is the best way to say anything you think without having to take responsibility whatsoever? And if someone questions your facts, misinterprets or is offended by what you say, you have no responsibility whatsoever. That's right, a disclaimer. We work with these every day. So ladies and gentlemen, the topic of my talk today is what it's going to take. Xolisa Dyeshana is merely a CD and not a registered opinion provider. His words cannot be used against him, but in the case that there are any repercussions, terms and conditions do apply. No animals or Khoisan people are harmed from the nature of the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in trying times. And when faced with the hard question of what it's going to take, for me, a certain word comes to mind. Not a good word, or so we've been taught. And that word is pessimism. Now, the dictionary definition of pessimism is a tendency to see the worst aspect of things or believe that the worst will happen, a lack of hope or confidence in the future. But the organization School of Life has a different take on pessimism, which I subscribe to. According to them, pessimism prepares you for the worst. It reduces the tension of expectation, and it protects you from disappointment. It might even make you laugh a bit. So we live in a society that is extremely positive. We live in a society that tells us about happy endings, where the little guy always comes out on top. We live in a world that tells us about light at the end of the tunnel, the sun coming out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar, and pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. We see and hear so much of this that we've forgotten the wisdom of the glass being half empty. And I loved something that Mike Barnes said when he put it like this. Sorry. He said, the present value of the truth is far less painful than the deferred consequence of a lie. I'll repeat that. The present value of the truth is far less painful than the deferred consequence of a lie. So for me, what that tells me is that we have a dire situation on our hands. And we need to be pessimistic, and in so doing, be realistic about how it will affect all of us. And therefore, I say the glass is half empty. How encouraging is this talk, right? You see, the simple equation of happiness is that happiness equals to expectation over reality. So you have two choices. You can either change your reality or you can shift your expectations. The pessimists choose the latter. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to look at the truth of some of our realities today so that we can better manage our expectations. Reality number one. No surprises there. Our economy is poked. We were sitting in one of the worst economic periods way before Nene happened. If you look at the world of advertising, last year was one of the toughest years in terms of trading conditions. Sales in almost all industries were down, and of course, lack of sales equals lack of or less marketing budgets, which means we had to do a lot more for a lot less. The Nene sacking, the fall of the rand have all but put the final nail on the coffin. People are buying down in most industries, and if you are at a price premium, you have to justify every penny to the consumer. Reality number two, there is less money to go around. What is the value of creativity? I, for one, do not believe it can be measured in hours. But the reality is that it is. This is what our industry has become. Michael Farmer, CEO of Farmer & Company and a 25-year-old veteran, and a veteran of 25 years in the industry, says the following: anytime you're buying a man's hours, you can buy them for cheaper. He goes on to say, hourly rates don't even make sense for this kind of work. If there are rats in your attic, who cares what the exterminator charges per hour? You need to know what he charges to get rid of rats. In the same way, brand leaders, especially CMOs, need a partner that can help them achieve specific financial goals. An hourly rate system tells them nothing about what the agency can or will accomplish. And in many respects, I don't believe it motivates the agency. Reality number three.
I wasn't in the brief.
Black and white people don't like each other. Interestingly, if you look at the events in South Africa since the beginning of 2016, you'd be completely within your rights to take this statement as gospel. But I somehow have what I believe to be a slightly more nuanced view. For me, the reality is more like this. Black people and white people don't understand each other. For the longest time, we traded the difficult but necessary task of truly engaging with and confronting our past for the short-term and guilt-free euphoria of believing that when 1994 came, we were all equal and life could just go on under the banner of the Rainbow Nation. But it was all a farce. Today, we are faced with the reality that South Africans are realizing that they've never had a true opportunity to express themselves. And now we see them doing that more than ever. And those truths, which we've postponed, are coming out. And they are ugly. And I believe things will still get uglier when it comes to this. Reality number four, we are not transformed. The diversity within our industry, so many years into democracy, and compared to other industries, is, for lack of a better word, appalling. The demographics of this country are not reflected in our boardrooms at all. And it shows in the work that we produce. Our work still has no truly authentic signature that makes it feel as if it could not have been made anywhere else in the world. And that is a direct result of the lack of transformation within our industry. I know there are a lot of circumstances that lead to this, such as the amount of kids of color who have access to our industry, the amount of kids of color who grow up without art as a subject at school, and without even the slightest knowledge of the creative industry. And those who do know about the industry often have parents who refuse to allow them to study anything but the popular commerce subject that they grew up with, and which they are certain will be more likely to ensure a steady income in their eyes. Or how the exorbitant costs of advertising schools ensures that only the privileged can attend. I've heard all these excuses, but at the end of the day, I believe them to be exactly that, excuses. We are creative. We take joy in finding solutions. And yet we have not found a solution to this. And so, ladies and gentlemen, now that you're all sufficiently depressed, and I've painted a grim picture of where we are as a creative industry, now that I've put the true reality to the fore, I think this is a good time for me to reveal to you that as much as I honestly believe that we need to be pessimistic in order to grasp what we are faced with, I am, in fact, an optimist. And I believe in the glass being half full. And it is in that spirit that I would like to revisit these realities and tell you how I believe we can overcome them. So we'll go back to the beginning with a smile this time around. And we'll start at reality number 1. Our economy is still broke. But ladies and gentlemen, what this says to me is that we have to work smarter. The budgets aren't likely to increase anytime soon. So we have to make every buck work that much harder. And that ultimately comes down to the one thing that we sell, our work. We have to bring back the magic to it. I think the one thing that we forget is that faced with all these problems, when you speak to people and you just hear the national psyche is so pragmatic at the moment. Logic is what people are having to deal with every single day of their lives. They don't want to see it when they finally sit down and get together with their families and switch on the television. For us, they are looking for magic. Or from us, they are looking for magic. And the fact that our clients insist that we throw everything into a 30-second spot where we end up with zero emotion and connection presents us with a mammoth creative challenge. But I believe it is one we can overcome when we start to show them the value of magic. It's such an interesting thing because I truly believe that the years of the 30-second commercial are really gone. And the reason why I say that is because you have to strike a chord, you have to strike emotion. And I know one thing with clients, if they brought you down to 30 seconds, they will try and put as much into that 30 seconds as they possibly can, plus more. And I did an exercise before coming here about 2 days ago, and I actually looked at the most talked about ads in the Superbowl. I looked at the top 10. And what was interesting about them is that none of them were 30 seconds. Yeah. None of them were 30 seconds. What was interesting is that some of them were actually 60 seconders. So the 60 seconder was in the top 10, but then because they couldn't afford to carry on flight in the 60 seconder, but it's in the same game. People have seen it now. Now you can be reduced to a 30 seconder. And what was interesting is that some of the 30 seconds were also within the top 10. So I think if you can strike that emotion, there was one exception, and that exception was Snickers. And the Snickers proposition is the simplest thing you'll ever hear in your life. You're not yourself when you're hungry. That is it. They never have to say anything else. They never have to say, now with an extra added bite. They never had to say with extra coconut. They never have to say any of those things. You are not yourself when you are hungry. So I'm willing to say to any client, if they want to do a 30-seconder and they want to make it emotional, give me one proposition and allow me to go with that. But if in the absence of that, I don't believe that the 30-seconder will bring us any value whatsoever. And to inspire us on this point, there's one piece that I actually just wanted to share with you today.
On Super Bowl Sunday, the US is big, loud, and expensive. Sweden is Swedish. So how does Volvo compete with the other car brands and their millions spent on commercials during the game? We don't. We steal it.
When you see a car commercial during the game, any car commercial, not Volvo, you can tweet using the hashtag #VolvoContest.
The interception was simple. Their commercials would give you a chance to win one of our cars for someone you love. Just tweet their name to Volvo during any car commercial. When Mercedes wanted you to look here, people immediately went here. When Lexus spent 4.5 million for this, Twitter looked like this. Shifting the social conversation to Volvo. With up to 2,000 tweets per minute every time their commercials aired, we changed the Super Bowl conversation from one loud 30-second roar to an ongoing conversation about Volvo that lasted the entire game. We were the only car company to trend both nationally and globally.
So they weren't advertising on TV, they were letting all the other car companies do that for them. And just like that, their millions of dollars worth of car commercials turned into a social conversation about Volvo, helping our XC60 to a 70% sales increase the month following the game, the highest in its segment.
The second reality, there is less money to go around. I agree, but I believe that we need to find different compensation models, like ones where we start charging for our solutions and not just for hours, for instance. Let's leverage available technology to measure results. We need to do this accurately to understand our progress and prove our value. So interesting, one of my pet peeves is this thing around the like button on Facebook. Because what we do is we count the likes or the click-throughs. And I find that a lot of the measuring matrix discounts so many things, because I could have seen a television commercial about this product. I could have heard a radio ad or seen a billboard on my way to work. And eventually when I sit on my computer and I see it on my Facebook, I click through. But none of the other mediums are counted in that. So I think we need to be a lot more frugal in the way that we measure how this media is actually consumed. So what clients want is shareholder value. It's as simple as that. And we need to find a way to stay relevant in the economic conversation. This is something that for too long advertising has always been, we the kids that sit in the other room, and this has to change. We have to show how communication in all its different incarnations can influence behavior and make a difference to the bottom line. Reality 3 and 4. Black people and white people don't understand each other, and we are not transformed. You'll notice that I purposefully combine these two, as I think they go hand in hand. For our different race groups to truly understand each other and to honestly deal with the issues of the day, or at least, at the very least, truly grasp what they are, we have to transform our environments as soon as yesterday. Having employees who come from different demographics and market sectors can only further a company's understanding of its customer base. People from different backgrounds bring different viewpoints and nuances that are so desperately needed in our work. And in the context of the debate around accessibility of our industry, there are many strides which the various industry bodies are making to ensure that we give more and more young people from disadvantaged backgrounds access to the industry. From the bursaries that are given every year by the ACA, to the Luri Scholarship Program, to the various interventions made by the Creative Circle, which include internships where we take people, no matter what background you're from, no matter what university or varsity you went to, and we give them opportunities to enter our industry, to something that we started recently, which is part of Umuzi Photo Club program, that has seen more than 100 kids from disadvantaged backgrounds gain access to the industry in the last 2 years alone. All of these are interventions that we are making in our various corners, and there is still a lot more to be done. Because when it comes to transformation, everyone has a role to play, including our clients, the government, and many other stakeholders. But we cannot afford to wait. I also believe that it is only when we get this transformation and diversity right that we will start to have work that speaks to a uniquely and proudly South African narrative, like the work that I'd like to show you now.
So, how was the holiday?
Oh, sensational. The beaches, the sunshine, the women.
この標識になんかヒッポクロッシングって書いてあるじゃん。いやいやこれ作ったやつやろ。私は違うよ。
Tu vois les babouins?
Ils rentrent dans les maisons, ils saccagent tout.
Maar ik zou je zeggen, ze houden ervan om vuurtjes te stoken.
Chop en door. Chop en door. Chop en door.
ये देखना, ये जो है ना, उसके अंदर पानी भरते हैं, उसी को लेके ना वो लोग मैच देखने जाते हैं रग्बी का. Jacuzzi.
Called a jacuzzi वहाँ पे.
Zelo take lepe hiše, ograjene z visokimi zidovi.
Notri ali zunaj?
Ja.
Sami se uvijek dvosnič se više uključajte energije.
They even have a name for it. What?
Load shedding.
Load shedding.
Load shedding.
God, I could shed a little load.
16 people in here.
That's right.
And they call it a mini taxi.
That's not even the half of it, mate. We've got these things.
Yeah.
Car guards.
Car guards.
Car guards.
Watch your car. Make sure it's still there when you get back.
Mate, that's amazing. I'm getting one.
I mean, honestly, one that was easily in the top 3 ads, in my opinion, that came out of this country last year. And the beauty about it is you could take it anywhere else and it would make absolutely no sense. And we have to start having work that is like that. I think for too long our work has been just too Eurocentric. It's just, we've missed the nuance, we've missed the meat, we've missed what makes our work unique. And it is very, very, very important that I'd like to make this announcement in this forum today, that as Luris, a particular decision has been made that from this year there will be a particular focus, because usually what happens with Luris is that everybody comes together and we've got different judges and everybody goes and judges. So, you know, we know what the criteria is, it has to be original and everything else. But this year, for the very, very first time, we are adding a layer to that, which for me is long overdue. And that layer is that we are looking for work that celebrates and has a South African fabric to it. And I think that's going to go a long way. It also fills me with great pleasure to tell you that for the first time this year, as Luris, there will be a non-English category for all categories across the Luris. So we will be embracing all of our indigenous languages, all under this banner of really starting to create work that we can truly be proud of and work that we can call proudly South African, like you see when you see work from South America or India, etc. And then, ladies and gentlemen, lastly, as I leave you, I'd like to say that I believe that if we embrace this philosophy of pessimism in order to truly understand the tough times before us, and we use it as a tool to lead us into cautious optimism, if we embrace the challenges around the tough economic times we're living in and learn to work closely with our clients, if we challenge them, if we take them and ourselves out of our comfort zone, if we become innovative in the way we service them and become true partners of value and not just a nice-to-have service provider, if we transform our companies and embrace the youth, much of which I see today, with all their diverse and out-of-this-world ideas, then and only then will we be truly in a position to give our clients the one thing that will ultimately get people to fall in love with their brands again: magic. And on that note, as I leave you, I just want to play you a piece that we believe is magic that we released yesterday. It's for one of our clients, one of the hardest clients in terms of the industry. I think that this particular industry does things, it's the retail industry, and therefore, you know, there's always very little space to move. Everybody does things the same way. And for this Valentine's, we decided to do something slightly different for our client, Jet. And this is the latest campaign to come out of Joe Public.
I really believe that it's important for us as women to affirm and support each other.
We all have good days and bad days, and I just try to get to more good days than bad.
A lot of women aren't body confident, and it really isn't reliant on size.
Everyone's trying to look better than the next person.
Do what you feel comfortable with. You know, you don't have to live up to anybody's standard of beauty. If you feel beautiful, then that is exactly what you are.
The way I've always felt with my career, my family life, my personal life, I've always been true to who I am. Whatever people perceive me to be is who I am. I can't be anything I'm not.
You realize that this is the body that I have, and I can work towards that strength.
I am a singer-songwriter.
I'm a publicist by trade, but more importantly, above all, I'm a mom.
I'm an interior architect.
I am an anthropology postgrad and a poet and a feminist and a writer.
I feel strong, I feel good.
Be yourself every day.
Love yourself.
Loving life in my size.